Now, you're welcome to this next episode of our podcast dealing on the marriage and the home. Now, in the first episode, we tried to lay a foundation. We tried to see how man came about and how marriage came about. And we tried to establish the fact that God started marriage by giving Eve to Adam, by taking out that part of Adam that had a womb and created it into a separate human being and took it to Adam as a wife. We also established the fact that in the heart of man there is a space for God. That time when Adam and Eve fell from grace, they lost that privilege of hosting God. And there's a yearning in every heart for God. That's why people run to any religion, anything, because they want to fill that gap. But that gap must be filled by only the true God. And when God has not filled that gap, there's a challenge. That's what led to what we talk about, the fear of God. And so in this episode, we want to continue on that. What does the Bible say about the fear of God? The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, according to Psalm 111, verse 10. You have seen that also in the book of Proverbs 9, verse 10. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, to fear God is to be wise. Why does the Bible refer to those who fear God as wise? Because it takes the wise to acknowledge God in all that he does. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6 and 7, the Bible says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thy own eyes, fear the Lord, and depart from evil. In chapter 14, verse 16 of the same book of Proverbs, the Bible says, a wise man feareth and departed from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. When people fear God, they run away from sin and anything sinful. When people don't fear God, they begin to argue, begin to give excuses why they should continue in their evil ways. They begin to rationalize their sins as if it doesn't matter. Yet that was the reason why Christ came, to die for those sins. So the fear of God is not about belonging to any religious group or organization. No. The fear of God is not about how many times a person prays a day. It's not about how many days a person fasts in a year. The fear of God is not about how much money a person donates to the work of God or to propagate his religion. The fear of God is not how many times a person attends vigils or goes to church. It's not about how a person talks or behaves. It's not about what a person wears or does not wear. But if and when a person has the fear of God, all of that will matter to God. What he says, what he wears, how he prays, how many times he prays, all of that will matter to God. But as long as there is no fear of God, all those things don't matter to God. In fact, the Bible calls them filthy rags, according to Isaiah 64, verse 6. So anything you do to please God when God is not in your life is to God a filthy rag, something that you yourself cannot even carry with your own hand. It is not difficult to know those who fear God or who have the fear of God and those who do not. It's not difficult. No sane person who has the fear of God would ever want to marry a person who does not have the fear of God. I don't advise any young person to enter into marriage if he or she does not have the fear of God himself or herself. This is the truth. And the truth can sometimes be bitter. If you want to get into marriage, you be sure that you yourself have the fear of God. So that God can also give you a man or a woman who has the fear of God. If you don't fear God, you don't love God, the tendencies of that marriage, the chances of that marriage succeeding are very slim. Yes, people can be moral, people can behave in a good way, but having moral upbringing, behaving morally well, is different from having the fear of God. How do you know those who have the fear of God? It is by their fruits. Bible says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 17 to 20, it says, even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruits, but a corrupt bringeth forth evil fruits. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruits, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruits. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruits is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruit you shall know them. Unquote. When a person's thoughts, words, and actions are evil, you have seen a person who has no fear of God. You have seen a person who does not love God. Lack of fear of God is responsible for so many things. I will tell you some. Lack of fear of God is responsible for people indulging in sexual immorality outside marriage. A lot of people say, we are getting married next month. You start sleeping together. That's wrong. You have no fear of God. The Bible says the marriage bed should be undefiled. The wedding is tomorrow, so we can sleep today. It's wrong. It's sinful before the eyes of God. And you know what? God said he will judge the immoral. He will judge those who indulge in adultery by himself. So when you see people, whether they're getting married or they're not getting married, indulging in immorality, sexual immorality, is because they don't fear God. People are not even ashamed of those things. They do it with boldness. And they flaunt it on your face, as if it doesn't matter, as if God does not see them. It is lack of fear of God that makes people to cohabit. You see a man and a woman who are not properly married, they are living together. They have not met, they have not seen their parents. They have not done the traditional thing that should be done. No bride price is paid. And they are living together, sometimes raising children. Too bad. You see oppression in one's spouse, especially men. Men are guilty here to oppress their wives. The wife must not seek help from anywhere. If she does, the oppression increases. Lack of respect for each other. Find people living together, and the husband and wife, they call themselves married people. They don't have respect for themselves. Husband who raises his hand on the wife or met out inhuman treatment to her. Lack of fear of God. You find people who are married lying to themselves, being dishonest about everything. It's because there's no fear of God. This is why the fear of God is very, very important for anyone who wants to go into marriage. Lack of respect and talking down one's spouse. Husbands are the greatest culprit here. They talk down on their wives, dehumanize them, sometimes make them feel inferior. Too bad. Exchanging abusive words. There are some women who even abuse their husbands. That's not what Sarah did. Women of God in the scriptures didn't do that to their husbands. You don't have the fear of God. That's why you would behave like that. People give their jobs, their children, or the outsiders more attention than they give to their spouses at home. Lack of fear of God is responsible for that. They don't have sympathy or empathy for each other. The other person is sick or ill or has challenges. The other person is going on as if nothing happens. They just live like strange bedfellows. They're just sharing apartments, sharing like two limited companies, operating under one roof. That's not marriage. You find people stealing from each other. The husband kept money somewhere. The wife went and took it without telling the husband. The wife kept something somewhere. The husband went and took it without informing the wife. Lack of fear of God. That's not marriage. Not forgiving each other. If they have offense, no forgiveness till Christ comes. You can't make heaven. You don't fear God. The Bible says, forgive all our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. defrauding each other, deliberate attempt to destroy your spouse's self-worth, hatred for each other, working hard to frustrate each other, unhealthy competition in marriage is lack of fear of God, constant quarreling and altercation, mutual wickedness. I can go on and on and on. You find all these challenges in marriages where either of them have no fear of God or both. These are many more reasons account for marital failure. Anybody who leaves God out of his or her life cannot escape this kind of crisis. Now, without the fear of God, an average man is capable of believing, behaving, and acting like a beast. I hope you know that. And an average human being can behave like an animal outside the fear of God. That's why people kill. You hear about people killing their loved ones, killing so-called loved ones, killing their girlfriend, killing their boyfriend. Butchering each other, somebody like animal. And in monistic tendencies in man is there when the fear of God is not there. They want to do anything. A person who fears God will be restrained from doing wrong thing, whether somebody sees him or not. A person who fears God knows that he cannot escape the all-seeing eyes of God because God is omnipresent. A person who fears God is always conscious of God's presence. In Malachi chapter 2, verse 13 and 14, I quote from New King James. And this is the second thing you do. You cover the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping and crying. So he does not regard the offering anymore, nor receive it with goodwill from your hands. Yet you say, what? For what reason? Because the Lord has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, with whom you have dealt treacherously. Yet she is your companion and your wife by covenant. By covenant. You went, nobody forced you. You went before the church, before the elders, and joined hands together and took and covenanted to love your wife or your husband, to respect her, to keep her in good health. And yet, you turn around to dishonor that covenant. The Bible says God is the witness. And God is not happy with it. God is always a witness in whatever we do, whether good or bad. Our ears are full of tragic stories emanating from homes, all because God has no place in the individual lives and most spouses. Hear what the psalmist said. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? I quote from Psalm 139, verse 7 and 11. I quote, whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I say, surely darkness it shall cover me, even the night shall light about me. Unquote. So it is not possible for anybody to hide from God. Unfortunately, those who do not have the fear of God do not understand these facts. The fear of God does not only make one a candidate of heaven, it helps one to live the highest quality life on earth. If you are a Christian and you have the fear of God, you realize that you enjoy your life. The highest quality life anybody can live on earth is a Christian life. When you have your peace, when you enjoy your decorum, your peace with God and with man. So lack of the fear of God is in the lives of both the husband and the wife is the sure recipe for marital failure. That is why any home where the fear of God is lacking, love will be in short supply. Any home where the fear of God is lacking, permanent joy and happiness would be absent. Maybe today, happiness, tomorrow, quarreling. Tomorrow sadness, another day fighting. Where the fear of God is lacking, peace will take flight. Where the fear of God is lacking, truth will be scarce. They don't tell themselves the truth. Where the fear of God is lacking, trust will be a stranger in that home. And what is marriage without trust? What is marriage without commitment to each other? There's no marriage without trust. Where fear of God is lacking, truth will be scarce. And progress will be under serious attack. I don't know how many people know that when you don't have peace, progress is very far from you. It takes a peaceful mind to receive from God. So the fear of God is very important and paramount for one to enjoy his life and marriage. Rest